Hi there. So this is our class for Friday. I'm going to go over the last exercise in our lab and go over some things in the homework too. But I want to emphasize in all this, you should, before doing these problems, take some notes on the processes for finding a test of difference of means. That's what we're doing in this lab. So it's all outlined, in the beginning of the lab. So take some notes. What are the steps? What are the processes? So that you, and then do it yourself. Because if you're just depending on me to copy paste what I'm doing, you're not really learning it. You're not going to be able to understand it by way of doing it yourself. So the purposes of these exercises is for you to do them and then check. And there's like several places you can make errors. If you make an error, check when you check it, then you can learn from that error. So yeah. And the more you practice this, the easier it gets, the more you automate some of these steps where you can make errors, right? So put in the time, do these exercises. Some of them are pretty interesting. I don't know if you're into jewelry. I bought a diamond for my wife and I had a budget. Like I went to the jewelry store and they were like, oh, they tried to sell me something right above my budget. And I was like, I don't see the difference in these diamonds. Like I'm gonna get the one that like fits in my budget. And so that's kind of what's going on with this problem. We got a 1 carat diamond versus a 0.99 carat diamond. Carat is like the weight of the diamond, but it's undetectable, the difference. So to the human eye. So what's the difference in cost? And let's see if there's a significant difference in the diamond costs. And so for this, they're like standardized to make it comparable. Looks like you divide the price by 100 times its weight in carats to get some measurement of comparison for cost. So here's all the data. We're going to do a difference in means of the price of these diamonds. So right away, I thought, hey, I'm going to use some code I had from before, copy paste that, and I put in the mean for the first X bar 1 was the 0.99 carats, the mean for the second, the standard deviation, and then N1 and N2. This is nice because, looks like there's a problem here. S2 should be 16.13. So this is nice because you can check your work. And if you make an error, you're just changing 1 or 2 numbers. Okay, so I did all this to find out my observed value is the difference of the averages. The t-score is the observed minus the null divided by standard error. That's my t-score. And that's just some information I thought would help me, would save some time. So now let's look at the question. You should evaluate this hypothesis. Oh, construct a hypothesis test to evaluate the difference in the average standardized prices. When you're doing a test, you should state the hypothesis, check your conditions, interpret results in context. So this is kind of helping us like remember to do all that. So it's all in one question. First thing is always good is set up your hypothesis. You got to use your hypothesis, set them up, and then check your conditions. Remember in the problem it said selection of diamonds is randomized. So we have independent samples. But to check sample sizes, we don't have information about outliers, max and min. So we'll just say we don't have to evaluate normality of data, right? The data should be normal, and the way we check it is by looking if there's some extreme outliers that tells us not normal. Okay, so conditions based off all my work up here, you can find your p-value to be t-score was positive 2.28. I'm going to make it easy, found the lower tail of that. Copy that. And so that's the p-value I get. Two-sided. Check your work on that. All right, so now I'm going to do some things in the homework. same idea. You see, once you do this, you can reuse your work, you can reuse your code to make your life easier. So the first question, the homework, is looking at the difference between mileage of automatic and manual cars. All the cars were manufactured in 2016. And so once again, you take your data, plug it in, and you get your t-score to show that there's a good difference. Oh, and what we're looking for is the difference of these. We don't care whether automatic or manual is more or less. So in that case, we're going to use this hypothesis, not equal to. Okay, so you can find your test statistic and your t-score for that one. This is the one-sided hypothesis, but since it was two-sided, when you see the not equal, that means two-sided. That means we got to double our probability, the probability of having data more extreme than that. So, and then the next question was a different sample. I think it was like Prius's. 2012. Electric. No, it was just a different sample. So the data is different. Notice, like, we're going to have to change our data. And then once you do that, to find your standard error, to find the confidence interval, the process is a little different. You got to find what T is. And that's something that some of us like get confused about. So here's the picture. If we want to find the confidence, the 98% confidence interval. Oh, let me see if I can draw on this. Draw 98%. That means we're looking at a distribution that looks like this. And if we want to cover 98% of the data, what's the area of our little tails? It's 2% divided by 2. So to find out the value T, how far do I have to go to the left or to the right to get my confidence interval for 98%? You're going to say 0.02 divided by 2 with the degrees of freedom of the smaller of the two samples. And so you'll get, these answers aren't actually right, the ones I got here, because we have to update these values. So what you can do is like copy paste this code and make sure you got the right values from your data. All right, so keep practicing these processes. I think as long as you stick with it and use repetition with these, like these homework exercises are just repeating what we've done in different contexts. So work on that. Let me know where you get stuck, and we will look at that on Monday. I'll check the due date on this. Did I make it due Monday? I will, just in case you have questions. All right, see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.